So, of course, Zoya, the one thing I do need to inform you of while we take a quick fly over this map is that I am going to be doing the obsing this game. So you're going to have to do most of the casting here because our observer has had to just dash off quickly, and that means that I'm going to be focusing on two tasks at once, and being a man, I struggle with that immensely.
Well, to be fair, Nick has a really tiny bladder. It's almost like a baby girl. As we all know, infant females have the tiniest bladder of all humans, and Nick, that's just the way he is. It's very unfortunate, but.
Well, let's get into the introductions. And spawning in the top right, we have got the red Zerg player. It's Protosser. And his opponent down in the bottom left, also the Zerg player, it is JonnyREcco. Now, ZVZ Zoya, what do you know about this matchup?
I don't like it. That's what I know. Like I said earlier, Zerg is my main race. I'm mid-highish Masters. But that's only on the NA server, so people in the are gonna be like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. But
like, congrats on Gold League.
Congrats, you might be platinum on this server, but and it really though, it can be painful at times. We'll have to see what Blizzard can do to fix it. Ling Muta play is just the dominant style. There are people who are trying to work to make Infestors work, to make Hydras work. The only transition I've seen that works is you open Mutas initially, and then you transition into Infestors, but the follow-up after Infestors is more Mutaless, so you really just can't get away from Muta play in this matchup right now.
Having said that, though, they are testing some balance changes out at the moment whereby they are looking to add in additional damage to biological on spore crawlers, actually up to plus 30 damage to biological, which is going to make them ridiculously effective against Mutalisks. It still won't alleviate if someone really commits heavily to Mutas, but just means in that transition period, you've got a bit more of a chance, and potentially counterattacks could be highly viable there. But in terms of strategy this game, we saw JonnyREcco go for a hatchery out nice and quick before his spawning pool. He's getting up his gas as well. Meanwhile, Protosser went for a pull into hatch and now just getting down his first gas geyser. So that means his speed will be delayed, his economy a little bit behind, but his queen out a lot sooner.
Yeah, it used to be for a while saying, like, people be like, oh my god, if you went hatch first against a pull first, you're so far ahead. People started doing the math. That's the thing about the SE2 communities. There's so many people who are just willing to invest time to figure out the finer points to these economic styles. And it turns out that pull first into hatchery is only slightly less economical than hatch first, because you pointed out you get that earlier queen, which means faster injects, which means more drones out quicker. So it is a little bit less economic, but it's only just so slightly.
The important thing, though, is that if we take a quick look at vision, we can see that JonnyREcco has spotted that his opponent's natural is only just now coming out, and that means that he knows that he's ahead in terms of the mid-game transition. But as you quite rightly pointed out, the queen does make a huge difference. Getting that additional lava inject out sooner means you get 4 lava a bit quicker, meaning that you've still got a good economy. You can pump out a few more drones or lings, whereas JonnyREcco will eventually catch up because he gets 2 queens out quicker than that of his opponent. So those are the things to really be looking at. Speed on the way down for both players, very equal, 21 to 33 seconds completed, in slight favour of Rico because he got his gas down sooner. Rico also getting down a baning nest up in his main base as opposed to the natural as part of the wall off. Which is, what are your thoughts? Do you like getting baning nests as part of the wall off, as we're seeing Protosser do, or just back safe in your main?
It's just a stylistic type thing. I personally put it as the wall off allows you to, defend it a little better, get spines in there, use queens. I mean, anything at your natural to help, funnel in units to let you control better is better. But it's really not the biggest deal. It's just mainly, do you want to hide the baning nest or do you want it as part of your wall?
And I think that's a right way to go about it. You can get spines down as well. Neither player actually opting to get a spine crawler yet. Both just sitting comfortably on 4 Zerglings. We've got JonnyREcco running through with 2 Lings coming around the top. Going to be spotted by everything. But these are just more to get a little bit of information about what's going on. We see that Protosser sending his 2 Zerglings the other way. Both players just want to get a scout out and get a quick read. We've got the 3rd and 4th gas on their way for Protosser. No 3rd or 4th gas yet for JonnyREcco. He's only just taking his 2nd gas at the moment. So that's going to get him behind in terms of the later strategies. But now just getting down all 3 gas at once, so both players going up to 4 gases, both players with their layers coming down. JonnyREcco's just a little behind, but do you know what that means? Muta on Muta, almost certain to be happening.
Oh, yeah.
And That's always exciting times, but the one thing about Mutalisks, it's not all about who has the most mutas with the better upgrades. A lot comes into play about the ground composition as well, because if you have more Zerglings under the muta on muta battle, they soak up the bouncing glaives, and if you soak up the bouncing glaive damage, that just means that ultimately you're going to have better trades, and that can make a big difference to the engagements, which is why you can't just hold down the Mutalisk hotkey and hope for the best.
I want to point out that JonnyREcco scouted what was going on with his links, and he canceled the spine crawler at his natural base. That's so smart. Every drone counts in this matchup, and when it comes to muta versus muta, it becomes a battle for the third base, and every drone counts. As much gas as possible counts. So I'm really glad to see that JonnyREcco was able to pay attention to the finer points of a build. He's actually super duper supply blocked for a long time, so that's really lowering his drone count. But if we look at that gas count, because Protosser invested. Actually, no. JonnyREcco has not.
So yeah, we've got quite a few units actually coming into the natural base here for Protosser. He's managed to pick off Rico's single Baneling, but as we can see, we've got more units on their way through. They're waddling forward, and it's not going to be enough to be super scary. But of course, we've got more units still on their way across, and JonnyREcco may actually be in a bit of problems here. He's having to make an awful lot of Zerglings in order to start defending. There's 2 Banelings coming in. One detonation goes off. The second detonation goes off. Lots of drones on red health, but for the moment, Rico has held this off. Both players do have their third base on the way down, but that was a nice little bit of aggression from Protosser, who managed to actually kill in total 5 drones there.
Look at the main base. There's a drone sitting there. JonnyREcco meant to put down his Spire. He still has not noticed he hasn't built that. So he's going for a lot of counter aggression right now. But if we look at the units tab, the link count is almost in favor of Protosser, and JonnyREcco just now realizing what's going on and starting that Spire. His Spire is so much later than his opponent's.
It is so much later. That means the first Mutalisk will be able to get all the way across the map for Protosser. Anti-air in terms of what JonnyREcco has. Nothing but the Queens for the moment. That's going to be a little bit problematic. 7 mutas and +1 coming down. But as we can see, JonnyREcco is having to retreat back at the moment because Banelings are waddling forward. 2 Baneling connects do go off. JonnyREcco with his own Banelings as well. This is where things get pretty tense. Ling Bling wars are so micro-intensive. It's very stressful. These 10 Mutalisks coming out for Protosser at the moment could really make a difference to this game. JonnyREcco potentially in some problems, and it's all due to their Spire being so much later.
Look how much gas he's got banked up because of this. He's sitting on 1,300 right now. When the Spire finishes, he's not going to have enough minerals left over to build this many mutas. Protosser is in a really comfortable position right now. We do have Lings engaging Lings here. Muta's going to show up and push these back. Spire's still not finished. +1 Carapace is about almost halfway done for Protosser, just showing you how much further ahead he is on that end as well. I mean, Protosser income tab 53 to 48 in favor of JonnyREcco. So that's the only thing he's really behind on right now.
And of course, JonnyREcco, he's just pumping a lot of Zerglings, trying to keep his opponent back for the time being, because ultimately, if Protosser decides to move across with so many more Mutalisks, what is JonnyREcco going to be able to do about this? Already we see the Protosser does have 13 mutas out to the 0 of JonnyREcco. He's just getting his first 9 at the moment. +1 air armor is also a lot further done for Protosser. Nearly a whole 100 seconds ahead. That is a massive amount of time, and a huge timing window the Protosser could utilize. JonnyREcco getting supply block, losing quite a few overlords here. Zerglings are starting to stream in. Baneling connections go down beautifully, but the big problem is in the sky. We can see these mutas just tearing apart everything. JonnyREcco in a lot of problems here, Zoya.
Yeah, with no Spine Crawler here to have static defense to defend this muta attack, Protosser can straight up engage the mutas, popping out one at a time. Queens are going to go down as well. Queens from the 3rd and 4th base coming over, or from the 3rd base coming over as well. But the muta count is just way too high for Protosser. Look at that supply count, 108 to 75. 1 muta to the 14. And G drop from JonnyREcco. Protosser is going to take game number 1.